Greetings and salutations. You are listening to the Into the North podcast, where we take a look at the competitive side of the Commander format, also known as cEDH. I'm one of your hosts, Lyndon, aka Noobsource, and today I'm joined by my co-hosts, Matt, aka Null.
Yo, yo.
Reid, aka Sick Robot.
How you doing?
And Morgan, aka Spleenface.
What's up, everyone?
And in this episode, we will be ranking each other's decks. Ooh, another tier list episode. Yay. But before we get into that,
original.
What have you guys been up to since the last episode? Well, I mean, I haven't been on the past two episodes. I mean, I feel like you guys probably don't have.
Well, you're making your glorious return to do the intro.
Yeah. I mean,
What
that's why
have
they
you
pay
been
me the
up to?
big bucks. Am I right?
He's honestly just been practicing the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only stand in front of my mirror doing the lines so many times. But yeah, I don't know. Since last episode, moving house a bit, brewing some new decks, buying and trading in a lot of Magic cards for other pieces for more Magic cards. You know, money only goes into Magic; it doesn't come out, right?
I've been thinking about doing
and
that.
you just move cardboard around. Yeah,
like turning rares into other rares. Maybe into mythics.
yeah, dude.
No,
dusting,
that's a couple
real
of
life
years.
dusting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not too much. What about you guys? Anything interesting?
I brewed the most cursed deck of all time and played it on stream for 2 weeks in a row.
And he even got a win.
I got a win. It was great.
And what deck is this?
It's a Naya Dargo. So you play Sidar Kondo Dargo in the command zone, and then it's a Breach Turbo deck, except the primary combo piece is Academy Rector, because you can play Academy Rector and then cast Dargo to sack it to get Greater Good, and then you do Greater Good Dargo
That's
for
funny,
one
man.
card creature
That's
tutorable
pretty.
combo.
That's pretty funny. That's sick. Okay, I like it. Yeah, really cool. Yeah. So without further ado, let's jump into housekeeping, where we have nothing. So no new patrons, but we can still shout out our existing patrons. Thank you guys a lot. Yeah. Anything else for you guys to add about how great our patrons are? Or?
They're awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're great.
They are honestly the rock solid foundation we need.
Cool. So yeah, moving on to new developments. We've got that was so bad, man. I should redo that.
I had to make you crack. Anyway, just go for
Okay.
it.
Yeah, so moving on to new developments, we've got cEDHstats.com. Morgan, you want to tell us about that?
Sure. So, I remember a few episodes back we talked about a big video that Ken from Stacked EDH had done, where he went pretty in depth on. He gathered all the deck data and card occurrence rates and things like that, and sort of analyzed cEDH decks. In part as a response to a video that Command Zone had done about on a similar topic and talking about what cEDH decks look like. And we decided to there was sort of a team of people who was working on it behind the scenes to turn it into a more permanent thing. So now there's a website, cEDHstats.com, which we'll make sure to link, that has a few different things. It has that card analysis sort of done permanently up to date with decks from a few different sources, including primarily the database, some stats more at the deck level, and then I believe moving forward the cEDH metagame project is going to be run through there as well. So there's a page where you can input your cEDH metagame project data as well, and that will be used. It has a live real-time matchup calculation, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, that's super
sweet.
dope. Yeah.
It's actually an incredibly sick resource.
So yeah, look forward to seeing that probably mentioned on future episodes as we reference all these cool numbers that maybe come up. And so yeah, in order to contribute, make sure you guys are doing the metagame project, and yeah. Awesome stuff. So on to the main topic, and that is ranking each other's deck lists. So if you're a podcast-only listener, an audio-only listener, you might want to check the YouTube video for this one, because Morgan has on his screen a tier list maker, with S, A, B, C, D, and we've each selected 7 of the decks that kind of best represent us. So it's kind of vague, but we're kind of going based off like time played or amount effort put into the brew or something like that. Like something that we each associate. We make sure that the 7 most decks that are kind of associated with us. And then, and of course, cEDH decks only. So we've got them all grouped up.
Quote unquote cEDH.
Yeah. I mean, we start getting pretty low down there a bit, but
wow.
No, he's got a point.
Yeah, so we'll then be ranking them, placing them into tiers, and discussing. So I guess without further ado, let's go with the very first deck we have on the list. That is Acererak, and this is Reid's deck.
So I think the way that we could probably do this is the person whose deck it is gives a case as to why they think it's sick or not, and then
that's
the
true.
rest
Oh
of the
yeah,
pod
also we
makes
should
a
say this is
decision.
ranked in terms of sickness, not in terms of power scale. Yeah. That's
So,
important. They're gonna be like when
debated-
Acererak gets S tier, they're gonna be like, what?
Debated if anybody listening to this thought that we were doing an actual tier list. We are pulling the rug out from under you for the second time in a row and not doing that. So
This is a real tier list. What are you talking about?
Okay, what's the case for Acererak?
All right, so we have Acererak up first. Acererak, if you don't know, is a mono black sort of build your own Allurin type deck. You get a discounter, a mana discounter that discounts like 2 mana in play, 2 colorless mana in play. This is typically something like Heartless Summoning, and then you get something that can discount the black mana into play, which is like Carnival of Souls or Crick, Son of a Yawgmoth. And then you just cast Acererak a bunch of times and go through a bunch of dungeons infinitely. I think this deck is sick just because I think it's potentially the most unique cEDH deck I've ever played in terms of, like, your commander is just the entire strategy in the command zone, except it's also not super linear because you're, like, instead of just, like, casting your commander a bunch of times and winning, a lot of the time you end up just, like, having a couple of discounters in play and then just, like, trying to storm through your deck with, like, really weird draw effects out of the dungeons and, like, casting really bad rituals to do it. It feels like you deserve any win that you could actually come up with the deck.
So let me be the devil on the shoulder here. Okay, so I think Acererak is very unique in obviously it's venturing through the dungeon, but it is kind of formulaic along the lines of my commander is part of a combo in the command zone, right? That said, the fact when I see you manually storm in that deck, like where you don't have the infinite established and you're like kind of just getting there, that's where I think the deck is the sickest.
You can't undersell the manual storm just being awesome.
See, Reid, I feel like I would if you look at the deck list of Cole, you would think like, yeah, any win you get with this deck, you deserve that win. But you were so unreasonably lucky playing that deck that you deserved like half of the wins you got. It was actually absurd.
You need the luck to offset just the raw number of things that you lose to.
It's like, yeah, you're at that dungeon thing that's like, oh yeah, you flip the top 2 cards and you could play them this turn. You're like, blind flip, Mox Opal, and LED. I'm like,
come on, man, yeah.
Okay, well, so we also got to play like sick cards like Null Profusion.
Oh yeah,
it's got a lot of sick cards in the list.
There's cards that are actually busted.
There's a very high percentage of cards that like are both sick and busted. Like Priest of Yawgmoth, you get to just like play Null Profusion.
I'm tempted to say, for now, top of A tier, if not bottom of S tier.
Yeah, I say top of A tier.
Yeah,
you are right. It is the
think
combo in the command zone.
And we could also kind of like revisit some of these.
We'll revisit these at the end and do some reordering.
What a banger.
Next up, we have Aminatu from Matt.
Yes. So this is Aminatu Soap Basket.
Nice name, I like it.
It's a top tier name.
Most decks, good decks need to have good names.
Actually, I'm now. That's now part of my criteria. I'm now factoring in deck name into.
No.
Yes.
Actually, I might have a couple good ones. Okay.
Okay, so here's the good part about Aminatou. So, first off, I'm just looking through the list.
Yeah.
When
was this circa? When were you playing Aminatou?
This would have been in person, so at least 2 years ago.
In the before times.
The before times. Okay, it's a deck. It's a stacks deck, which is hard to play in cEDH, so I think that's pretty cool. You get to play Humility, which is a huge boost to sickness levels, in my opinion. Though, okay, I think one thing is it is just kind of like a console deck at the end of the day. But you're also gonna play you also get to play Rule of Laws and like actually break parity on Rule of Laws, which is really cool. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, realistically, just having a stasis in there makes it pretty great.
Yeah, you've got a Luminarch Ascension. You've won me over.
There is a stasis, yeah.
Dude, I simp hard for Luminarch Ascension.
You also get some bonus points for this deck description.
It's just like Silence and Lambs, except you get up.
Except you always get those.
Well, there you go.
Okay, so there's a lot of spice in the deck. I think Aminatou overall, I mean, kind of leans towards the spicier because there's not too many planeswalkers in the command zone.
I think the one downfall though is just that like there's a lot of just like good stuff Esper going on in the deck, right?
Yeah,
like Goblin Cannon.
It's got some sick stuff in there, but a lot of it is just good like Esper cards.
I mean, you're gonna have good Esper cards in any cEDH deck. I mean, maybe a Serac is a bit of an exception because there's like no good cEDH mono black, right? But they're at such a low percentage. But you know, there's things in here like Ensnaring Bridge, Goblin Cannon, Humility, Luminarch Ascension. There is some spice. You know, there's quite a bit of spice.
This is, just for the record, I was playing this before Wishclaw Talisman.
Oh, wow.
It's not even in the list. It's like,
that definitely increases the spice factor.
Increases the spice, but that's why it's like, I'd want to go back and play this with Wishclaw, because it totally changes how you play this deck.
I'm thinking top of B for now.
Yeah, I'm on.
Yeah, I could settle for a B for this.
Okay. Next on the list, we've got Anafenza Raspberry Jam from Noobzors.
Another S-tier name.
So,
It's a pretty good one.
the origin story of this. So I guess before there was the deck list database, there was like the deck list thing on the sidebar of the subreddit. So this came out during a Hulk meta. I think we were at Morgan's cottage, and I was like, you know, I think I could get a list onto that like deck pins really easily. Just build Anafenza for like the Hulk meta, and so I did. Yeah, it's called Raspberry Jam because there's a Razaketh in it, and it's doing kind of like cat stuff. Bear for the hate bears, and then Jam because raspberries, you know, whatever.
So where does the Y come from?
Yeah.
Lyndon.
Because it's bearish.
Flash has been banned for years. You need to let go.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm gonna come hot out of the gates here and say,
Reid, please.
I think this deck loses a shit ton of sickness because its primary game plan is just to hate out an entire deck strategy from the command zone.
That was so sick in all times. What are you kidding?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I think that adds to the sickness. I don't know.
No. I don't know. It also just is kind of like...
It's also just like a pile of good stacks cards plus a Razaketh. Like...
Yeah.
Wait, are you still playing... Okay, you are still playing Broadback. That definitely saves you. It can't be in D tier with a Broadback in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was doing weird catch lines. I'll
give you bottom of C, in my opinion.
Oh, wow. I'm being robbed on this one.
I think Final Parting definitely brings it down to C tier.
Okay. Oh, next up is another one of mine, and we've got
No,
Baral.
it's
We've
not,
got Baral
dude.
Moneyball. So this one, I don't know. I got ages ago when I saw the Baral lists. I was always like, man, I want to run Quiet Speculation because it can get Flash of Insight, Deep Analysis, and Think Twice, and just get like kind of mad value for one card. And then I kind of held on to that for a couple of years, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to build an entire reimagining of the standard Baral lists to what I think they should be based on different card evaluation, which is where the Moneyball comes from, inspired by the book/movie where they're reevaluating
Fantastic
players and
movie,
stuff.
by the way. That's
Yeah.
actually legitimately one of my favorite movies.
Oh, it's up there for
great.
sure. But yeah, so that's where Brawl Moneyball came from. And it's got a bunch of different counter spells that you might not evaluate differently when they you evaluate differently when they cost one less.
I think this deck is sick because I feel like as a mono blue enthusiast, because I have to preface all my opinions with that. The fact that you're not playing Urza is so refreshing.
But okay, I feel like
That's such a low bar.
on the sickness tier list of mono blue commanders, honestly, I think Baral is the second lowest ranked.
No, I kind of feel that too. People, when they think of mono blue, they think of Baral. Even though in terms of cEDH, it's like, barely viable.
Actually,
it's
Azami might also be way down there.
Azami's might be
pretty
the
low
lowest.
on the sickness tier list. I think the one saving grace for me with Baral is just the fact that sometimes you get to have Archmage Emeritus plus Flusterstorm for a bunch. And
Bro,
like, that's a legitimate
how is the
win con.
sickness factor not influenced by how vastly different the counter magic and kind of other suite is compared to the pre-existing Brawl decks? Come on, man. Come on.
Because it's sort of just not really that different. Like, the counterspells are different, but you're still just playing like 20 counterspells like every other mono blue list. Like,
yeah, but that's just the color. Like,
Oh,
that's just
my-
the color
wait.
entity. Like, what are you gonna do? Okay,
You
sickness
cut-
levels go to Sigil
Yeah, but
Tracer
okay,
being
but
enabled
like-
by your commander.
You cut the patron wizard? Come on, man.
The Patron Wizard was in there for testing, man. Come on.
and
Come
now
on.
it's
I might go back
gone.
in. I might
What
go
are you-
back
what are
in.
you doing?
And I'm still testing other cards. I'm
What
sorry. I'm
are
sorry.
you
Tests.
doing?
Sickness points for Manifold Insights.
I think the 99 is sicker than Anafenza, but I think the play pattern is a lot less sick than Anafenza.
The play pattern
Play
is toxic.
pattern makes me
It's-
sicker than
It's
Anafenza.
not even
Yeah.
no. And for anybody listening, the play pattern isn't what you think it is. I don't get annoyed by the deck just like constantly holding up interaction and trying to counter stuff, because that's not really the annoying part. That's just like bad control in cEDH. That's not what gets my goat. What gets my goat is the play pattern a lot of the time from Lyndon is turn 1 land pass, turn 2 Baral pass, turn 3 hold up mana for the rest of the game. It's so predicated on
That's
greed
quite annoying.
every time you play it.
Yeah, you have to. you throw your
And then
you
and then
throw
worst-
the
and then
dice every
worst
time
part-
you do that.
The worst part about it isn't even that like Lyndon holds up interaction for the entire game. It's that he holds up interaction for the entire game only for when it's time to spend the interaction. He spends like 15 to 20 minutes trying to talk his way out of having to use the interaction.
Yeah.
Bro, that's why Barella is so bad. If you're not politicking your way out of to get like 50% of your counterspells from your opponents, you're losing.
Why would he throw away all that he has? And
Yeah.
All right, all right. So it sounds like this isn't going particularly high. Is this
It's definitely
our
not
fir-
D tier. It's definitely can't be D
I
tier.
think I think it's like top of D tier. I don't know.
I'm. Okay.
Like Sigil Tracer, dude. That's an Archmage
I
Emeritus.
like Sigil
that's like
Tracer.
6 card.
Archmage Emeritus is.
That's not really spicy. That's
I
sort of like
guess-
standard.
No,
Lyndon.
Archmage is not that spicy, no. I like the
I feel like
quiet
the paradigm,
speculation.
If the quiet speculation line was good, then I'd like that.
It's just value. It's just value, man. It's not a line. It's just
Or like
value.
sure,
It's
but
insane.
like if
good
it was like
value,
actually
yeah.
good value.
It is. Why you're tilting me, man. You're getting around me up.
Paradise Mantle and Springleaf.
I also
Column?
just paradigm shift Thoracle. Just boo.
bro. That's all I got.
That is another one. Trying to make Thor.
I think I'm
work in
voting
monocolor
D
is pretty
here.
cringe.
Wow.
Okay, upper D. Let's not.
Upper D.
Remember, we can always make last minute
can-
No,
adjustments.
I'll
It can
remember
shift.
this. I'll remember
I
this.
fully acknowledge I'm getting some lists in D here. Like, it's happening. Okay.
Dude, we might have to grade this tier list on a curve and shift everything up a tier.
All right.
So yeah, we've got Chainer, Dementia Master, up next for Morgan.
Yeah, so this
open this
is a sort of surprisingly mid-range reanimator list that seeks to take advantage of the fact that Chainer gives things haste and has some shenanigansy graveyard interactions. You've got news lines. You use Apprentice and Doomed Necromancers with haste. And sometimes you just play a hasty Inferno Titan.
Yeah. I honestly,
hasty
if it was
Inferno
only up
Titans.
to me, I'd have to put this in D because a lot of the decks that I play can't beat a hasty Inferno Titan like ever.
That's just the myth.
But I can't deny that it is sick to see hasty Inferno Titan in cEDH.
So for me, and this is like kind of a bit weirdly subjective. Like comparing to other of Morgan's lists, Chainer is like on its face should be like, wow, this is unpopular. It's doing a kind of unique mechanic or whatever. But so it should tick all the boxes. But for me, it kind of rings a bit hollow as like a spicy deck compared to some of the other decks Morgan has on his list. It just always felt a bit empty to me because a lot of it seems more obvious.
Yeah, so
Okay, I guess also there's an element of this deck that is preserved in its lineage from when it was Olivia mobilized for war, and it's like kind of hard to, I don't know, those two decks. Like Chainer's just like a clear upgrade in power and like a clear downgrade in sickness, and it's just kind of sad.
Yeah, who gave you that idea for the Olivia deck, by the way?
You did. I've said that. I've said that.
I think if I were to build a reanimator deck, I would build it exactly like this. Maybe not with the Inferno Titan, but
I think
like
like
Dude, no, Inferno Titan is sick, man.
it's sick. Oh no, it's sick. I just wouldn't be the obvious choice out of the gate. I mean,
I think there are a lot of like it's very stapley until you get to the reanimation targets, and the reanimation targets are just like all bangers.
Well, they're not
Ravnica.
staply, but I mean, some of the reanimation targets like they just make a lot of sense,
I mean,
right?
for,
Like,
well, in terms of like
Razaketh,
like
Black
Ifnir
Terror
is
of
spicy,
Insanity?
but it's like, you know, it's kind of obvious with your commander.
yeah, Ifnir is definitely spicy, but I don't know. Razaketh and Villas are pretty stock.
Yeah, like
I'm sorry,
Sire's
I'm
pretty
saying,
stock.
I'm saying like Burning Ruin Demon's hot, Arcfiend's hot, Inferno Titan's hot. Fucking
No, I think I was gonna say I think Archfiend is less hot. Like it's spice like driven by the command. Like it seems odd. Like this,
Okay,
it doesn't
I
necessarily
guess-
discount from the kind of
I think
contention that it's a
I'm-
bit of an obvious deck.
I think I'm coming at this from the perspective of having played Black Red Neheb for far too many games and
Oh
playing
my God.
Arcfiend of Ifnir in that deck. It was always insane, but it wasn't quite as good as I wanted it to be, and it's like exactly as good as I wanted it to be in this deck. It
that's
just
true.
makes it sick.
Dude, this beats out Rakdos Neheb. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, by
So
like
much.
an insane margin. Yeah, Rectus Neheb was like by far probably one of the worst decks I've ever played in cEDH.
Which is a high bar.
It is.
Or a low bar, I guess. Same.
So
Does
to me,
Possibilities
I'd
Storm
put this
have,
at like bottom of C, top of D.
Oh no, I'd give it B.
I think I'm with Lyndon.
Really?
C to D.
Okay, can we
Yeah.
compromise on C then?
Yeah.
Bottom
we can
C?
put it in C.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, I did not see that coming.
No, I think this is the least of interesting out of all of your decks.
It's like, dude, it's just it
No,
says
no,
it just
Yeah.
does
That's
reanimation.
not
I
true.
don't-
No,
like
no.
That's
It's
such
or
a
of all,
wild
okay,
take.
no, maybe not of all your decks, but of all your what I would call interesting decks. I think it's the least interesting of the interesting decks.
dude, you can be way more creative in your graveyard.
So
than
I'd
this
give
deck.
it B.
No.
Anyways,
No, that's
we'll,
not
we'll
us.
shift these
Okay,
around.
upper C,
Alright.
lower B. Guys, remember, I'm gonna say this after everyone. We can always adjust.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, next up is Hullen, also by Morgan. Give us your pitch.
Yeah. So Creature Storm has a long and storied history in cEDH, as does Bant, and both the popular Creature Storm and Bant lists had largely fallen off, but Hullen is sort of carrying the torch for both of those archetypes. You have a bunch of like really funny combo pieces, and like they all interact really strangely, and yeah, sometimes you just gotta spaghetti like 15 lands into play.
I will say there is something to be said for being like the only real Allurin deck in the format.
Definitely, yeah. Huge spice.
Morgan, just a reminder, did you Allurin pass in a game I was in recently?
Oh no.
I did.
Oh, dude.
Oh boy.
We'll do it.
Okay, hang on a second. I Allurin passed
plays,
with
so.
my instant speed win in hand. It wasn't just the value Allurin. Come on.
It was pretty funny for the meme though, dude. Oh, good old Dozan Allurin pass, best combo, dude. Yeah, I mean,
I think this deck is sick. I think one thing that you don't see in the list is like that Morgan just took so much ownership out of the gate when this card was printed in creating this deck. I think that really adds to it.
yeah, I think a lot of it, like you kind of look at the deck, and obviously, as with any cEDH deck, a lot of it's just going to be your colors, good stuff. I mean, so there's a lot of banned good stuff, like more obvious kind of creature package things. But the combo package of that Holland kind of requires is like really unique, and it makes for kind of interesting gameplay patterns. One thing that's kind of interesting as well is that like Holland is viewed as like one of the most boring decks in casual, whereas in cEDH it's like, oh wow, what a novel deck. You know, I don't know, it's kind of funny.
Did mad points to Cloudstone Curio.
I feel like Reid hates this deck.
Yeah, I'm sort of simmering here.
There's
just
no
being
way.
I think it's the least interesting out of any of the decks that Morgan has on this.
Dude,
By,
I'm
like,
never
a pretty
gonna
large
get S
margin.
tier
That's
because
so weird.
because
What
like
the hell?
I'm never gonna get S tier because on my decks, Reid and then Matt and Lyndon just have perfectly opposite opinions.
Yeah. It's just that I've played with this deck enough, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it's just so unbelievably frustrating to watch Morgan just like get to resolve a Holland and then just be like, okay, and then I'll dump my entire hand worth of dorks into play. And
One of the most frustrating things happened the other day where I was playing with Morgan, myself, and then there was Stell from the Frog Server we were playing. He was playing Thrasios Toggo Rocks, and or Yeet Control, and he had like a bunch of rocks equipped, and then Morgan's like about to Stell is passing into Morgan's turn, and Morgan's about to untap with like Hullin, Spellseeker, like
and
dorks.
they just don't fire any
And I'm like, what is going on? am I living in some parallel universe? Why is there such a lack of respect for this deck? It was actually incredibly frustrating, and I burnt my entire hand to like try and hold Morgan back, and he
every
got
time I play against it's because it's honestly just because the deck is so frustrating to stop if it's not exactly killing Holland or like putting a Dread in play, because even if you kill Holland like the turn after they got to like cast it and do some stuff with it, they just like always have enough mana to recast it, and it never matters.
I to me, I think a lot of the so I mean, there's already kind of like bounce aspects with the like the creatures that kind of make it kind of unique and interesting. But you look at the enchantments, it's a kind of storm deck that gets a combo with a deafening silence. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That's sweet.
You've got Earthcraft, which I mean is kind of more powerful staply, but still kind of pretty unique. You don't see Earthcraft too often in cEDH anymore. Intruder Alarm, Mana Breach, Allurin. Like, these are some cool enchantments, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can't deny the enchantments are cool. It's just
I think
the deck is so
I think top of
frustrating.
C tier, bottom of B tier.
I think this is a solid B. I would even go B plus.
Ahead of Aminatu? I could see that. I could see bottom of B or top of B. Yeah.
I'm fine to give it B, but I think I still maintain that I think Chainer is probably sicker than this.
I think maybe we put it below Aminatu because you had Aminatu before Wishclaw, which is true. So I'm down for that.
Okay. Are we
It's
tracking
close.
sorting within tiers, or is that
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're good right now. Yeah. We can do some adjustments.
So next up is the card art for Vitalize, and this represents Cody Untappers, which was brewed by myself. Let's do Reid's Cody list first, actually. Yeah.
No, well, I was going to say, let's do both at the same time, or like in the same batch here.
Okay, yeah, actually, that's a good idea.
I feel like contrasting them in terms of sickness is probably a good.
Reid, are you actually going to waste our time trying to make a case for why Cody is sick?
No, I think Cody is possibly the least sick list on this entire.
Yeah.
list.
Okay. No. Okay. Actually, no. I take that back. I think Cody's actually kind of sick, but the play patterns around it are very boring.
I don't even think it's that sick.
There are like 3 cards that are sick.
Dude, just counting straight up unique cards. What are you talking? Like,
and like it plays on it has very unique text on it.
That doesn't make it.
No, there's some interesting aspects to it for sure.
Okay, the fact that it can win tournaments and also die to both Curse Totem and Null Rod, I think adds sickness.
I feel like that's.
I'm putting my own Cody list in bottom of D. I think I'm vetoing that. I don't think there's like anything sick to be said about it.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm fine to put it below Baral because I think Baral is sick. So
Dude,
it kind of aligns with both of our views, even though they're.
I'm gonna go. I need to be on the record in saying that Reid just wants to down this deck because he wants it to come like out of favor, so he can play it again in the future.
Back, yeah.
Like
no.
this will happen.
So I completely agree that the play patterns of Cody, and because this is going to have bearing on Cody Untappers as well, but I think the play patterns, because I mean the play patterns of Untappers are like very very similar to Cody Turbonaws, right? Like they're doing the same shit. It's just you're getting counter spells and you get some mana stuff.
More novel, and the Untapper builds can actually like sort of theoretically play like 4 free spells or something like that. Like,
where like you're actually meaningfully leveraging the unique factor of the commander.
On Cody. Yeah.
Yeah. Where like with the regular build, it's like, oh wow. Look, they printed a tutor, so like, wow, turns out that consistently tutoring for a card is pretty good.
I'm gonna be honest, Untappers would have a lot more potential for sickness if the final build ended up with any of like the Inevitable Betrayal or Gaia's Will.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like I think you still can play those in that deck and it's still reasonable. Like you just can't do anything sick with the normal version.
Right.
That being said, it's still Cody. I think
the play pattern is still very good.
I think I'd put Untappers Cody in like C. Bottom of C maybe.
Bottom C, yeah. I think Chainer beats it out, yeah.
I mean, so do I, but like
it's not saying much.
Okay, next up is Gitrog by myself.
I'm actually blown away that Hullen is above Chainer.
Yeah, I am too.
That seems so obvious to me. I don't
know. I'm with Matt. So next up is Gitrog, a deck that has been mentioned many, many times over the course of the show.
I thought we were.
I don't know. You guys have played against my Gitrog deck a lot. There's not too much to be said. Maybe that a lot of the current list is influenced by some of the changes I've directed to, but I don't really think they're too interesting, more so than... and maybe some of it's interesting. I can make some cases for some stuff, just kind of about Gitrog and its uniqueness overall, but... yeah, like... I guess the Double Titan kind of Tainted Pact idea is kind of cool. But a lot of it is just like increasing efficiency of stuff, I don't know.
I think Grist is cool.
I feel like Gitrog 4 years ago would have been like an A, and it's just it's like it's gotten worse. And
it's just
in terms of power level, it's
decaying over time.
I think Grist gives it a slight bit of a bump. Like the fact that you're playing a Planeswalker main deck as tutorable creature removal is kind of cool and unique.
I think so.
But if we want to discount a lot of the older tech of like, all doing loops with Dredge and Titans and whatever, like, sure, that's passe at this point. Some of the newer stuff that the deck has added, the Grist thing is kind of cool, I think.
There's other decks that now just do weird non-deterministic stuff even better than Gitrog did in its heyday. Like, there's just weirder lists now.
Things have gotten very bizarre.
I mean, dude, Squandered Resources... Chains, the actual
chains of Mephistopheles is.
I think I'm fine with like lower end of B.
Yeah, I think it's below. It's unfortunately below Hullen for me because it just has like like I think
'Cause
the
it's
unique
older.
cards in the
I could
the
see it being
unique
Go
cards in
Holland, yeah.
Gitrog are like less sick than the unique cards in Holland. Like Allurin and Mana Breach and stuff are sicker than like
Chains and
the-
Bazaar. I guess
Chains and
Bazaar
Bazaar.
used to be way sicker until a bunch of new decks printed actually
Yeah,
Bazaar.
exactly.
Yeah.
Bottom of B.
All right.
Everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
All
Immediate
right,
S
this
tier
is-
for this next list.
Yeah,
this
this
is
is my hope for
unanimous
S
S tier.
All right.
Yeah,
Next up, we have
Easy.
Essica / the Prismatic Bridge, which I will explain. Essentially, I decided.
Well,
Say the name
okay, hold on.
first.
You gotta-
Yeah.
you
So,
gotta name
okay. So
deck.
the name is Magic Hate Ball. And
Top tier name.
the idea was, what if I just played all the hate pieces except Grafdigger's Cage, and then that idea was reality. So we're on Rule of Laws, we're on Curse Totem, Null Rod,
Porphyry nodes, bruh.
Porphyry nodes, yeah.
Or
And the
free
idea is you
nodes.
just
Oh my god.
stacks out every cEDH win con, and then use the Prismatic Bridge to flip into random fatties and win the mid-power game that results when all of the cEDH decks are shut out.
It's so sick.
Yeah.
It's incredibly
Top
sick.
of S. Top of S.
It's
Alright,
it's
we
funny
did
because
it,
the deck could
boys.
almost be like I don't know if you guys ever like there's some kind of like PvE like game modes in Magic that people have designed.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you could play this deck as PvE, man. It just
Yes.
summons the Prismatic Bridge and you have to fight all the shit it flips into.
Oh my god, yeah. Imagine it turns one Prismatic Bridge.
I'm
Yeah,
not
if
far
someone
away
was
from having to
designed no,
imagine
actually
that because
yeah.
we got fucking Prismatic Bridge on turn 2 at one point, right?
Oh my god.
Dude, just imagine the oh, you don't want to play 3-player EDH? Well, and introducing our new Magic Hate Ball AI bot, it just plays Magic Hate Ball and
Yeah,
all of
what
your
were those
3D
like?
games.
They were like they literally made decks that were like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
All right, easy S.
yeah. it was
Okay.
nice.
We did it.
Next up, we've got Reid's deck, and this is a Thrasios Tymna family, like Flash family of decks, kinda. It's called
yeah, so-
"I'm Still a Piece of Garbage."
Well,
So, yeah.
can I?
Yeah, Reid, go
choose my
for
own
it.
List? Thank
Yeah.
you. So this list is called "I'm Still a Piece of Garbage." AKA
Nice.
I long for Flash. Basically the entire deck is a Thrasios Tymna like mid-range list, but it has a ton of card choices dedicated to emulating Flash's play patterns, which is you might not think is that sick because Flash is some of the most unhealthy play patterns in the game, but it's sick for the person that's playing it because you get to play stuff like Aether Vial and Vivian Champion of the Wilds and just like Immersion Zone and Court of Calling and stuff, and it's just awesome. Yasan. The idea of the deck is that you just sort of like hold up a bunch of mana plus a Thrasios activation, and the rest of the table doesn't really know what's gonna come out of your hand next. Am I activating Aether Vial to put it in a Douthie on top of an Adnaz Counter War? Who knows?
Okay, the sickest card in this deck by far, in my opinion, is Sacred Guide. Like, without, it's just not even close.
There is a Sacred Guide in there
Oh,
too. Yeah.
no,
It's
what?
just not even close.
I think
Vivian is so much sicker than Sacred.
Dude, Vivian,
Yeah.
that card
Vivian
looks.
is hot.
How could that card even be good in this deck?
no,
It is. It's legitimately
Yeah,
very
it is.
good in the deck.
yeah.
What? Sure, you guys.
This
are
is
somehow
like
all wrong.
Schrodinger's list for me because you took like some of the sickest cards and like spiciest tech, and you're like, how can it be as toxic as possible?
That's just Reid though. I don't know.
Oh,
That's
it's so
just
good. that is actually just my deck building strategy on the whole.
Yeah, there's a few. I guess there's a few on this list that are like, how can I use X to be as toxic as possible? I think I do actually. I'm gonna give this deck an A.
A. Wow.
That's pretty high.
That's
Yeah.
high for me. I was thinking C.
Hmm.
Like it's got spice. It's got spice in it, doing like trying to emulate the patterns of Flash, but the rest of it is kind of just generic Thrasios Tymna mid-rangey stuff, right?
I think when you factor in the Aether Vial,
I'm gonna give the deck
Druid,
an A, and then playing against Reid on the deck
and the
is
Sacred
C.
Guide, I think playing against this deck wouldn't be too bad.
Actually, no. See, the thing is that the playing against the deck is so disappointing because you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be like this really clever leverage playing at instant speed deck, and then it's like, oh, actually, we're just trying to get 2 out of 3 of fucking Cradle Seedborn Music training grounds.
I literally cannot stand to give a Thrasios Tymna partner deck that runs a bunch of mid-rangey elements above a C.
Having thought about what actually happened when I played against the deck, I think I'm gonna revise it down to B.
Yeah.
I think I'll go with C. But does it? Okay,
Right.
but on the C level, I think Chainer beats it on C. But
Yeah, I think so as well.
Cody's on Tapper is definitely
I-
less.
I think Chainer is probably actually just better than that offensive here. And
Yeah,
I think it's like
I'm
like
seeing that now.
Sure, yeah.
and then I don't know if
No.
I'm so blown away by this.
Okay.
right,
Next up,
next.
we've got Calimax by Morgan.
Yeah, so he doubles instance, and so you do that.
Yeah, he does.
Golf clap.
There's some spicy tech. I know most people didn't want to play. I guess the Court of Calling isn't actually that spicy, but for some reason most people who play Calimax got off that line. Return of the Wild Speaker, never not funny.
That one is sick. Yeah, that's really sick.
It's like the least breachy breach deck, but unfortunately it is a breach deck.
This deck is sick, but it would be way sicker if I wasn't contractually obliged to remove Calimax every time it came down, along with the rest of the cEDH community.
It does just hit the table running. You have to deal with it.
Yeah. That being said,
Dude, just a raw
Looking through, so here's the thing: is a lot of
there's-
Calimax is sick when it comes down because having double instance is sick. But like looking through the list of instance, there's only a couple that are kind of like super spicy. Like Return of the Wild Speaker in like as a green kind of like fake Nas, draw 5 mana instant speed, draw a bunch. That's pretty cool. Like Pyrokinesis, I've seen play in a bunch of other stuff.
Wait,
The Salundi Visions and Valakut
exactly
Awakening.
go though. I think
no,
double
it's in-
pyrokinesis is pretty
it's
sick.
in Cole. It's in Cole as well, and it's in a couple of the other like low color
Red decks, yeah.
I guess Storm
Alright.
Killing is played in.
I will say though, Reap plus Calimax is
Reap is
hot.
sick. Yeah. So like there's a couple that are, like
Reap is
standouts for
cool.
sure, but a lot of kind of just
I feel like
generic.
there's another timeline where the Krark and Veyran are so sick, and
Yeah.
it's just not this
They are cool.
timeline.
yeah.
If Sakashima was never printed, this deck would be incredibly hot.
To me, this is between Chainer and Holland.
I think Holland beats
I would
this
actually-
one out.
I think I might actually give this one bottom of B. Yeah.
Okay, sounds like
I
everyone's.
think it's I think it's a
I think Gitrog
It's
runs
above
more
the
cool
frog.
cards than Calimax, honestly.
yeah, but I
But
feel
it's
like
a
I would agree there,
dinosaur.
Yeah.
That's
no, yeah.
I don't know.
It's a dinosaur.
Gitrog's a toad, a frog, man. What are you talking about? Come on.
Alright.
Yeah, Cats. Up next.
Easy
Brian
S
Morgan.
tier. No, this
Yeah.
isn't me. This is Matt.
This,
Oh,
this
this is
is
Matt?
this is actually my
Oh,
I have
that's
a
right.
lot
You
more
guys
decks
swapped
to
on your
choose
cats.
from.
Yeah.
Okay. I should probably start by talking about the differences in the stock cats list, which aren't many because I feel like everyone knows cats. This is okay. I think I was creating this deck basically. I was definitely in the Ranger Captain of EOS hype, which was a good time, right? We can all agree that was a good time.
Yeah.
And
before everybody started hating it.
before everyone
because
started
it's
hating
Ranger
it,
Captain.
this deck has got a Fiend Artisan in it, which has been relevant in games. So I do have to say it has actually been activated. I didn't just pass on it. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just Sans Red value. So good luck.
Fiend
I cannot in good conscience put a Thrasios Tymna Partners deck running good stuff, mid-range stuff, above C tier. I will repeat this once again. I put this right next to Reid's Flash deck, or
No,
below or above it.
It's a
think
fun.
as-
It's a fun deck
as-
to watch play out. I think, But
as great of a deck as Kess is, I think it's like a solid tier below I'm Still a Piece of Garbage, just because like there's just
Sure. To me,
no
that's
spice
the
in it.
ceiling. It cannot possibly be go above that.
Hey man,
me.
loyal
That's
retainers
fair.
is spice.
Loyal Retainers is spice.
And Offensive was running loyal retainers, man. Come on.
Is survival the fittest spice? No. Yeah.
I'd give it top of D.
Sure.
No,
I don't even give it
I'm-
bottom of D,
I-
honestly.
This definitely beats
I
out
can't
Cody.
put this in D.
What?
I'll settle for the very bottom of C, but I don't think I can put this
No,
in D.
I'm. Yeah, I mean, I could do bottom of C, top of D, but I would rather top of D.
Okay, it makes the very respectable decision of running Notion Thief in this metagame.
How are you upping this, man? How is this making it more convincing for Morgan?
We should just move on from this one. We all know where
Yeah.
this is going.
okay.
All right.
Next up is
Oh, this
Kenrith
is-
by Matt.
God, this is even worse.
No, it's not. It has one
'cause-
thing that makes it not
Dude, the
just
problem
worse.
with this deck... Okay, the problem with this deck is it's just the 5-color version of the previous deck you saw. but, like,
But
on, like, a very high level. But it does have some slight things.
You're running Mangara in here.
There is
I
a
am-
Mangara the
There is a
Diplomat in
Mangara.
here, which single-handedly drags it up a tier.
Drags it up. Master of Time is, like, just not spicy, but as far as like
No,
actual
no.
play, like actual people playing it, because it's just a bad card. You don't see it a lot.
No, I see it too much, honestly. I see people put that into lists where I'm like, why this is not that
Yeah.
good.
It's not. I think still playing Dovin's Veto is like an interesting. This is probably
Yeah.
an old deck, but like I think there's still like a reason to play Dovin's Veto. So
I'm sad that that's spice.
I
Playing
definitely,
Dovin's
I
Veto
definitely
in current
have a,
year.
Well, I mean,
Ugh.
it wouldn't have been spice if they hadn't printed fucking Veil and
SWAT.
Yeah.
SWAT. Yeah.
SWAT, yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I
which I'm
definitely have a
missing in this
soft spot
deck.
for
So it's
World
probably
Gorger
an underdeck.
Dragon.
And yeah, I agree.
Yeah, George Cat stacks are always sort of neat, but yeah, I think it
Somewhere
like
in C.
edges out Cats, but like just.
I don't think this makes
it
C
can't
tier
it
for
can't
me.
go above the Reid's flash deck. For
I
me
would
as
say
well.
D plus. I know I don't get a vote necessarily, but
No, I mean sure.
Top of D or bottom of C? What are we?
I'm indifferent.
I think it's bottom of C.
Okay, yeah, that's
Or
what I
actually,
was thinking.
I think probably top of D for the same reasons that if it's the same as kind of like the other Razakats kind of thing.
I think it's spicier than Razakats.
at
though.
least
Like,
it's not.
No, it is
Thrasios
spicier,
Tymna.
but I'm saying that might want to be our delineation for like if it's just kind of generic meta-ish with
Just
some spice.
5-color good stuff.
Yeah.
At the top of D. Okay,
I can't-
I'll accept the framing of it's the gatekeeper of the top of D.
Yeah. I also can't
It won't
believe
let me-
Baral is relegated with these with Cody and 2 cat sticks, dude. This is cyberbullying.
This
No,
is
okay.
exactly where
Dude,
where Brawl
Brawl-
deserves to be.
That's not fair, guys. We can adjust that one.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're
Next
not
up,
going to.
next up is Kess by
Okay.
Matt.
I think I'm going a couple in a row here.
Yeah.
So I think what sets this deck apart, okay?
Uh-huh.
I'm all ears.
Actually, I lost my train of thought.
Is
there.
that there's a hull breacher in here, which
yeah.
is a bold move.
It's running
in
Wishclaw
the-
Talisman without an enabler in the command zone.
Ooh.
Wow, it's on a Mind's Desire. That's crazy. You know how many decks aren't on Mind's Desire right now?
Yeah, just feel free to. You know what? I think it's best to be judged without any coloring.
Honestly, okay, I will in Matt's defense, having had 3 decks in a row thrown into the bottom. These are Nexus Super League decks, which we were kind of tryharding. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are tryhard
I
decks.
think this is below Cody for me.
It's not below Cody. No. Cody is like
No,
I think
Cody
solidly
was
the
new
bottom
and
of
is
everything.
was somewhat interesting. It's not
Cody's
old
so
enough.
toxic though.
It is toxic,
it's-
but this isn't like, I don't know.
The play patterns of Cody outweigh like everything else. I think it's like above
I think from a
Cody
pure
than
kind of
just.
brewing perspective, if you don't have to play against the decks ever, Cody goes up in 16.
Honestly,
We're just ignoring
Yeah.
ignoring the game that this podcast is about in favor of the metagame of putting the decks together.
Yeah.
All right.
I think this deck could have
yeah.
easily been higher if it had Clasms, and it doesn't even have Clasms.
Next is
yeah.
Cole by Reid.
Yeah, so I think just this. Okay, it's hard because I think Cole has the unique achievement of being like the first, and like, well, okay, I won't go any further than that, but like the first truly like sick Boros deck. I don't know. It just like it's such a unique style of Storm that like doesn't really use any of the traditional Storm cards, but still sort of does the thing.
It's Storm
And
at home.
it also plays like literally like 10 Kobolds in the main deck and still manages to
that
win
is
games
sick.
in
No,
cEDH.
dude, I actually love this deck.
This is such a cool deck. I think any deck that just genuinely just draws cards. Like, here's the thing. Like, I need to find a distinction between drawing cards with a Thrasios and not drawing cards with a Thrasios.
I think
honestly,
I'm leaning towards A. I think it would be S if it didn't like have so many particularly just early wheel games.
To me, this is top of A.
Some of
to
the
me, this is
breach
top of
stuff
A for
is,
sure.
like, also.
Yeah. If you're just ramping into wheel, that's
Top of A for sure for me.
Okay.
Above Aceric,
yeah,
I think.
I agree. I think Aceric beats it up, but whatever.
Next is Malcolm Vile by Matt.
Yeah.
We chose the Glinthorn Buccaneer because partners were somewhat ambiguous.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was peak hype. Okay, Malcolm Vile.
You gotta understand.
I'm gonna be honest. Like
the culture around me was
Malcolm
It's
Vile
really-
is like the only Grixis partner deck that, like, to me still has any hype. Like, I saw very little of it actually get played
Yeah, that's true.
compared to a lot of the others. Maybe like Krark Silas also, but
Yeah, I think Quark Silas is probably more interesting to me, but this is definitely a close second.
Yes. I think Silas is too. It's running 3 talismans. Okay. That's a huge accomplishment. It's got a Rite of Flame.
Oh no!
are you trying
You
to
just
tank
triggered
this?
Morgan.
No,
Yeah.
I honestly I don't know what to pull out of this deck. Yeah, it's an Oracle deck, you know.
I think one of the cool things that Black like with Malcolm does is let you do the Vile Smash one is let the play pattern of consulting or tainted pacting for your Glinthorn, right? That's
Yeah,
something
pretty
that
odd.
you don't get to see that often. That's pretty sick.
The
But,
fact
It's like very
wait,
very
is it sick?
Fuchin-esque, right?
It's powerful, but
It's-
is it sick?
I mean, we don't see it often, so I mean, I don't
mean,
know.
if someone had put a food chain deck on this list, I would have said the same thing. Like the fact that you can just exile your library and not care. Well, certain food chain builds is pretty cool.
And also, it is kind of it's not novel, but it's like kind of uncommon in the current meta. No one's playing food chain.
I should
Or
put
very-
Thrasios
I see very-
Nadir on this list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would put that high on the list.
Also, just honestly, the Glinthorn Buccaneer Malcolm combo. I mean, it is if you just kind of abstract it to a 2-card combo with a commander, like a 1-card combo with your commander, it's kind of meh, like kind of uninteresting. But on like just comboing a pirate, your pirate synergy as a combo is kind of sick, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, playing a creature combo in Grixis and non-green.
I think I'm leaning towards the top end of C.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was
I
thinking,
buy
like,
that.
Bottom of B, top
Yeah.
of C.
I could see this below Chainer, like above Anafenza, or below Anafenza. I don't know.
I think Chainer's like
I
the
think-
bottom end of B in terms of like the rest of how C is shaping out.
I think if Anafenza beats it out.
Really interesting.
I don't think
Yeah.
it does. I
Just
think
on the sheer,
I
like,
kind
amount
of feel a bit like it,
Actually,
but like it could go either way for me.
It could go either way.
just because I think if Anafenza
Like,
just runs
yeah.
more.
I
unique cards.
still can't believe Chainer's in C though.
I'm going up to bat with it when we're doing.
Here's a slam dunk one for me, I think, and this is Reid's Momirvig Hackball.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's like a Civic Good Stuff deck with bad combo pieces.
Dude, you could have done so much better than that.
It's hard because I feel like the issue is that everybody on this podcast has had way too much time to acclimate to Hackball.
What? I was gonna get, dude. I'm giving Hackball like A or S.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
This deck
I
is
was
beyond
leaning towards
sick.
A.
We forgot to even go with the deck name. Okay, you didn't even. Say
Yeah,
the name.
Hackball. Why is it called
Hackball?
Hackball? Yeah.
Hackball.
Oh
It's
well,
because...
the tapped out list is called Momir's Hit and Run.
Yeah, that one. I do have that slug for the tapped out list still, yeah. Momir's Hit and Run is a great deck name, but also... So Hackball comes from because you play just hacks. You play, like, not actual literal magical hack, because that one doesn't actually work, but things that change colors on cards, and then you just hack Momir Vig and do, like, the weirdest combo ever. I think, actually,
It's
never mind.
so unbelievably sick.
I'm talking
so
myself
cool.
back into this, that the fact that you can play a deck with, like, just the weirdest, most useless effect ever printed in Magic, like, what the fuck uses hacks in, like,
I think
any
Orvar.
Orvar, yeah.
So, like, what
Like
like,
that's
No, yeah, so because Orvar only
It's
cares
like-
that it says target. So if something says like target draw or like target
How many
retrace
copies
flashback,
how many copies of Whim of Volrath are in this?
yeah, like,
Or
so
Trade
the-
Doctrine?
so I'm re-talking myself into this because, like, they printed, like, 10 of those cards of that
I know,
at,
it's
like,
so weird.
very,
People are
at, like,
gonna
very
love these.
reasonable rates. At, like, very reasonable rates.
Yeah, it was
none
the,
of them were ever played in any format whatsoever. And then, like, Momir's just like, oh yeah, I just am a 1-card combo with all of these.
Yeah,
dude, the
that's
Back
so
to the
sick.
Future, your kids are gonna love this, dude.
All right, A tier. Everyone good with A tier?
I think top of A or bottom of S for me.
I think that I could see this at bottom S.
I don't think I could put this in S just because I'm so sad thinking about the amount of like refinement in terms of card slots and mana costs that went into this combo, and just how much better served the community could have been by that going literally anywhere else.
Dude,
did
even
spend a
even
lot
after
of
all
mana
of that
hours on
slot retooling and efficiency, you still look at this list, you're like, good god. Yeah, classics, Vizier of the Menagerie, you know, like all these cards that are like insane. It's also the one deck that's Painter, right?
See,
It is. Yeah,
I feel like that makes me think.
Painter,
I feel
yeah.
like the creature tutorable hacks make me like the deck less, not more.
less sick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed,
that's
actually.
understandable.
Oh no, dude.
I think,
My
yeah,
vote is bottom S.
I think I demote this to A because of how it plays out sometimes. I feel like can just be kind of underwhelming.
Can we agree top of A at least?
There you go, top of A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Morgan up
All
with
right.
Muldrotha.
We actually, yeah.
This was, I guess, the deck that, in many ways, is at least partially responsible for the existence of our podcast. It was my baby when Muldrotha came out, and people were like, Muldrotha is a casual trap. It was described as pub stomp garbage, tier 3 or 4 at best, and I was like, you know what? I think we can actually leverage this ability. The combo is pretty cool, and there's a bunch of cards that she breaks parity on just kind of absurdly well. And yeah, the deck is actually, I do kind of have to admit that the deck has sort of gotten less sick over the years. It's now on consult, which is a very sad day.
Boo!
That's a
Very
sad
sad
day,
day
yeah.
for me. But there's
Those are
still,
the
it's still
times.
got some solid spice in there. We got a Zur's Weirding, you got a Pernicious Deed.
It's up. Yeah,
You guys have not. You guys do not know suffering unless you
Wait.
know, like, getting Zur's Weirding
Zur's
locked by
Weirding.
Muldrotha.
I think that adds to the sick.
No, same. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
makes it super sick.
All right.
I think I give points to any deck on Oko and Ashiok for that. Same
That's
reason.
sad that
Like,
that's actually.
I'm still a piece
A
of garbage
boost.
that's not Oko.
Yeah, and
Anyway.
it has a lot.
And it's the highest rated
Rated.
partner consult deck, so there you go.
Yeah. I think we have an A tier here. I think Muldrotha's
Solid
sick.
A. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it could be bottom of A, top of B.
Just another Jeweled Lotus deck. Put that in D tier.
All right. I honestly, I
can-
wasn't sure. I was like, this could be so low or so high. I had no idea what you guys were gonna say.
I think it could have been S if Oracle wasn't printed, but the fact that you just like have to play Consult in the deck sort of sucks and just drags it down a bit.
Morgan is up again with Orvar.
Yeah, I'm gonna be up
Notably not the database version,
Not
or I guess this is
that
like an older
trash
database version.
database list.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Dated
So
about 2 hours ago.
So yeah, Orvar just has definitely a very, very high density of spicy cards, and you get to storm off with some of the weirdest effects, and yeah, you get to play some really awesome like quasi value pieces, and sometimes you kill people because they swan songed you.
I think Orvar gets points in the same way that Acererak does, where you can just manually storm, and that's basically it. Like, I think that's pretty cool.
I mean, honestly, this would be pretty high for me, except that it's the second Whim of Volrath deck that we've seen so far. It really hampers it.
Honestly, to me, Orvar's right in there with Cole and Acererak. I think it's a bit less sick than Momir Vig, because the way Momir Vig assembles this win is truly ridiculous. Whereas Orvar is kind of more like the Cole and Acererak, where it's, but just buying back a spell over and over again, or you just, you're assembling your cost reducer, same with the Acererak, blah blah blah. Like,
I guess also I feel like a weird a combo thing that's hard to evaluate the sickness of is like, how sick are Mystic Sanctuary shenanigans?
When you're
Cool.
not doing them
Definitely good.
infinitely or like looping the same 3 cards over and over, they're pretty sick. But as soon as you get into the point where you're like, I'm gonna buy back this counterspell again, and then we're gonna do it again, and then I'm doing it again.
no, that's sick. Are you kidding me? No other deck does that. How can that not be sick?
No. I think the thing that
No
like
other
I
deck
think
does
like
that.
Breeze Caller Mystic Sanctuary turn combo is like,
Is less sick than
is not that
Sanctuary
sick.
Abuse. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Okay, I mean, it's. I think actually, it is kind of sick in the broad cEDH universe. I don't think it's sick compared to what we're discussing, but also it's like our playgroup is kind of weirdly inundated with decks that are Breeze Caller Sanctuary loops. But I think if you kind of evaluate it in a vacuum of the
that is.
yeah, but I think it's kind of wild of a combo to make happen.
Right.
Yeah, next up we've
Coveted
got
Jewel and
and this is
cEDH,
just the
that's all I
me
gotta say.
special, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
I was about to say we could probably have broken these up a bit, but that's fine.
Here we can
next up we've
stir
got
this.
there
we go.
Yeah, sure.
sure. Okay, I'm up next. So I'm next up with Riel. So I guess the pitch on this deck is Riel doing Riel bullshit. I saw like the way the database. I saw when Riel was initially spoiled, I was kind of interested, but it's like everyone was brewing it, so that's super uncool and lame. I had to wait till it was abandoned, more or less, to pick it up. And then I saw that the database list was built in a way that I didn't quite agree with, so I was like, okay, I'm going to build it, how I think it should be built. There's some kind of different takes compared to the norm, which might contribute to the spice, but I think a lot of it is kind of like building into the obvious commander synergy.
Yeah, I think the
Definitely.
deck broadly isn't that hot, but there are definitely some pretty hot like card choices and synergy choices for it.
Yeah,
Like,
I would
there's
say that.
turboing.
Sorry, I was gonna say just like you clearly built into the discard in a very predictable, appropriate way, but the sum of things is, I think, really cool. Like individual cards.
It would be so much sicker if you could kill with something that wasn't Breach.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I
I
was
d-
gonna
dude,
get
yeah.
at. It's like Breach drags it down so much because you're basically just either controlling the game for a long time until you eventually breach, or just turboing toward breach and turning through your entire deck with like draw and discard. It's just like not that interesting when you just end it off with like, yes, I'm just doing breach things.
Yeah, the coolest wins I've had were the times when my breach got exiled and I had to win with Sorcerer's Class, which if you get it to like the 3rd mode, then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals that much. It deals 1 damage to each opponent for each spell each instant or sorcery spell you've cast before at this turn.
Yeah.
So,
sick.
but unfortunately, that's not the norm. The norm is just control the game, find gamble for breach, win the game. But there's some spice along the way.
Yeah, attunement.
Molten Vortex, that one's pretty spicy.
The discard guys, I'm a fan.
Yeah, discard dorks are pretty cool.
Dude, I was gonna say, wait, discard dorks. What?
Like Aquamoeba, and I mean Ghostly Gopher is
Bloodseeker.
not particularly sick, but yeah, Ravenous Bloodseeker and Aquamoeba.
I was thinking, like, I don't know. I feel like discard outlets just
seem obvious, but they're not the norm. Most Riel people don't do that.
You're not going to see these because you're not trying to discard an Is It in any other deck. But they are just discard outlets. Like, they are just broken cards, and the fact that you can discard into them infinitely. I don't know.
I think this is B tier for me.
Yeah. I think B. I was about to say, I think B is like pretty.
I like B.
Pretty decent.
Top, bottom, middle.
I was thinking between like Gitrog and Calimax maybe, or like maybe between Gitrog and Holland.
I think this beats out Gitrog in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
slightly.
I'm on that train.
Cool. Next up we have Tavesh Thrasios by Matt.
Yes. Okay, why does it say? Okay, cool. So, some context here. This deck was built out of one of our patrons' requests, which was I think it was like the help session stuff that we do, but it was like, I want to make the most mid-rangey deck for the most mid-rangey play group, which we're obviously talking about. The tournament. There was no more mid-rangier of a pod. So this was my take. I think if there's any card that embodies this deck more than any other, it's Mystic Reflection. Just being able to make tokens and then turning those into awesome creatures is great, but then also having that defensive ability against, Oracle is makes it like a really interesting card. In my personal opinion, it's running Narset's Reversal. I think is a spicy one that doesn't get a lot of play anymore, but in this particular like play group, I think is a great card. At the end of the day, it is a Thrasios deck, and it does lean on it, but I do want to stress that you're more often thinking about the Tavesh, and the Tavesh like playing out is more interesting. It's not just sinking mana into drawing cards. You do have to like make compromises sometimes.
I was about to say actually I think actually the most emblematic card in this deck of our meta / why you would ever put this together is the Steel Enchantment.
And the Steel Enchantment.
It's
but
honestly, the Sigil Tracer too, man.
And all of my Thrasios decks will have Sigil Tracers. Like,
yeah.
I think it's actually, this one's weird for me because it's like it's so mid-rangey and stapley that it sort of wraps around for me.
This is also Sigil Tracer without dramatic reversal, right?
Yeah.
Just to be stated, like this is the pure value mode of Sigil Tracer.
This is because you know that your opponents aren't countering the Tracer, and they're also eventually casting consults.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. Sorry, Reid, go ahead.
No, I think that it's like so mid-rangey and sort of not interesting in the card choices that it wraps back around, because it's like the card choices that are in here aren't like, they're not spicy bad, they're spicy good for this specific meta that we play in.
The treachery, just because everyone else has Seaborn Muses.
Yeah, exactly. No. To me, this is either top of D or below Reid's Thrasios Tymna deck.
Really?
No, I think it's like, if anything, top of C.
Top of C? No,
I was feeling
it
here.
Yeah.
I cannot in good conscience put it above, like generic partner value. I cannot put, like, I mean, it's not Thrasios Tymna, I'll give it that, but it is basically,
it's still two value partners.
Thrasios Tymna, right? Yeah. Like it's got the cool. So to me, it's why it's close to Reid's deck, because so it could be above it or below it, either way for me. But Reid's deck is very similar, right? Where it's got a bunch of spicy stuff that also happens to prey on really well in our kind of mid-rangey meta. Obviously, they're different cards and kind of different concepts, but kind of very similar in what
honestly,
makes them spicy.
All you had to do was bring in like 3 cards from this sideboard, because there's
Yeah,
so
I
much
was thinking
spiciness.
about that
Yeah.
My sideboards always turn out, or my main
Honestly,
boards
I
always
feel
turn
like
out amazing.
actually the perfect card for our meta is actually just Thief of Sanity.
Honestly,
Wow.
yeah, sort
Wow.
of. You just
Oh
sort
my
of
God.
get the chance to take somebody's seaboard views.
Slash
Who's
like
this last? Is this Thrasios belonging to the Tavesh?
no, this is
No,
this
no.
is Matt's Thrasios Bruce deck.
Okay.
Shall we?
Should probably have been a
Onto
Bruce
it?
instead of a Thrasios, but
Yeah.
we'll
Dude, this
get into
deck
it, yeah.
casts Bruce sometimes. This deck casts Bruce
To
just
Neoform
just
into Seedborn Muse.
no. It's even worse than that. Just to get the extra mana off Faber or Elder and the Bloom Tender. Like actually,
That's so cursed.
and if like if I'm in a pod of Adnons, then yeah, of course I'm casting Bruce Tarl. But all right, okay, this deck is it's pure Thrasios. It's just like what Reid said. It wraps around on the value so hard that it comes right back up. You're leaning 100% into the fact that you're going to be tutoring for creatures that make your Thrasios better, and your combos are so loose and like they're kind of redundant, but your combos are just so like obvious and like value-y that it once again just leaps around. It's got some notable tech like nature's like natural order Nyxbloom Ancient.
Honestly, this might be the only deck I've ever seen that genuinely makes me sad that Flash was banned.
Yeah, this
Because when you had the Flash Rector for fucking Nyxbloom Ancient, it was so good. Also, Flash Nyxbloom Ancient, weirdly good.
Yeah.
yeah, weirdly
Like
good.
you could play a 4-mana Nyxbloom Ancient.
I think the one thing I regret is the freed from the Riel Penman's Aura a little bit, because it is kind of just like they kind of are just like the discard out of live cards. Like they're just the obvious like, okay, I'll make infinite mana.
Yeah.
But Nyxbloom Basalt Monolith I think is just
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
High tier.
Based on Grim Monolith with the suite of Nyxbloom Ancient and Zerda
Yeah.
and yeah.
this can't be the final list. I definitely was on Grim. I don't know why it's not in here.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems weird with it. With
I was
Zerda
also
in there,
on
yeah.
like Frantic Search, not Frantic. Yeah, Frantic Search, which is not in here. So it's probably somewhere. This might not be the NSL one. This might just be like a random other one. But yeah.
To me, I could put this top of the partners.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty down for that. It's
it's
the Nyxbloom Ancient is just
above the Tavesh. Oh no, yeah, because that's the Malcolm. No, I think this is. I guess. I don't think it's better than Malcolm Vile. I'm more interested
I
in
think
Malcolm
I think
Vile.
it's hotter than Malcolm Vile.
Really?
Sure.
You think it's
Yeah.
sicker than Malcolm Vile? Okay.
Yeah.
I do too, dude.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think leaning into Nyxbloom Ancient this hard in a partner's deck is just hot.
That
Also,
is true.
dude, okay,
That is true.
just the Baron Dockside lines I found were cool, even though that was pretty stock. Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's like less.
you
stock
get
now,
points for
but-
not having updated it to VMBO.
yeah. I think the actual real updated version is on Emil, but
Okay.
Okay. Next up, we've got Viral's Hulk by Reid.
Hell yeah. I mean, what is there to say about this? It is the OG. It's like the OG Sack Hulk list. It is like the progenitor of like all of the instant speed shenanigans that permeate my entire cEDH career. It just like
This is why Reid
Reid
is as toxic as he is.
It's great. It just, oh my god, it might not be like the best thing ever, and like sure you're gonna have dud hands and stuff, but when it does shit, it's just it's so cool.
I feel like
Kill people at instant
To
speed
me-
with Hulk and
To me,
Green
a lot of
Black.
the arguments, like for Gitrog being like, at this point we're kind of used to a lot of the stuff that made it unique. I feel like is kind of true for Viral's as well. Like
Viral's
it was the
might be
progenitor of a
only
lot of
deck-
this stuff, right? But
Viral's might be the only deck on this list that I don't downgrade because it's old. I upgrade because it's vintage.
Yeah,
oh
exactly.
my god, yes. Yeah, I could see that. Because it was like it was never like it was never really popular, even in the heyday of its
Exactly.
popularity. Whereas like Gitrog has always been
Yeah,
popular,
was
if not more
everywhere.
popular.
But
Yeah,
Vrals has aged like a fine wine, especially after Flash got banned, because now it truly has the niche of being the instant speed Hulk deck,
It became
right?
cool again when Flash got banned. That's true.
But you cut the Grim Flare.
I
Yeah,
did. Wait, did I? I
Yeah.
never got the Grim Flare.
Yeah, you.
It's
Are
probably
you
still-
on the same tech as Tim with the Phyrexian Dreadnought?
No, I'm not. But the fact, okay,
Oh,
actually,
that's
never
sad,
mind.
man.
That also upgrades the hotness of the deck right now, though. Is that like you could actually do like Grim Technomancer plus the Phyrexian Dreadnought stuff, and it's actually like legit.
Wait, what? Like as a Hulk
What?
pile?
It's a Hulk doubler, but also you could just use the Phyrexian Dreadnought as like just a kill spell or like a I guess repeatable edict until somebody doesn't have blockers and they just die to Vrals.
Yeah, I mean, I've faced Tim when he did that, and that was devastating. So it's
Yeah, but
really
that's because
sick
of the
for sure.
decks you play. That's
Yeah, dude, that's all my dude. Attacking
Oh,
with
man,
big
no,
things is
my
illegal.
only creature is this Riel.
Dude, this Calimax is literally a counter pick right now. It's got 6 power. Are you kidding me?
I can't put this deck high, guys. I'm sorry. You guys are pretty jazzed about it, but
I
this is like
I don't think it's going that high.
there's
for me either.
no
I was
plan.
thinking
Like there's no
BB.
plan besides win, and that's just so lame. Like I'm sorry.
What are you talking about? There's a Dark Confidant.
Yeah, that's all I could find. was
I
the
think
Dark
I
Elf.
think the synergy stuff in so to me I want to put it somewhere around Gitrog because it's like there's different trade-offs, right? Like I mean Gitrog I think is doing cooler synergy based stuff and like winning in a more unique way, but Vral's definitely the vintage kind of hipster aspect to it. And then there's there's a lot of like spicy cards in here like Reincarnation and
Oh yeah.
there's spice
uses
for sure.
Mausoleum Secrets well.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember when that card came out, everyone was like, "Oh my god, this goes in every deck," and people kept pushing for Gitrog. I'm like, "Stop! This card is not getting Gitrog." But in Vral's, card's actually
It's
great.
so good.
I mean, it's not like the worst in Gitrog, but
No, but it's not good.
low B.
I just
Yeah,
can't
I'm
be
fine.
in B tier. What? No way. I mean, if you guys are all saying B, it's a B. But
I like the lowest I'd go is top of C. I think.
I would even, for a change, I would even say Chainer is more interesting than this deck. more.
I
More
actually
sick.
agree that Chainer is more interesting than
I mean,
Vrals.
I
think
agree with
Chainer's
that, but I also
underplaced
think
right now.
Chainer's position in this list. Okay, let's ignore.
So then, if we
Chainer
all
for the
agree on that,
purpose
hold on.
of-
If we all agree on that, then we should put Vral's behind Chainer.
Okay, but
we should move Chainer up.
Yeah,
Then
I
we can
don't
we
think
can argue that we can argue that
Oh
last.
my
We'll argue that
God.
last. For
Ah.
now, let's just put
Okay,
behind
fine.
Chainer if we can all agree on that.
B, Chainer and B. I'd have to
Okay,
think real hard
Lyndon.
about
Yeah?
Virals or Calimax?
I think Vral's.
Like is higher than
Calimax.
Calimax?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it's worse than Gitrog, probably better than Calimax. But I could also I'm flexible
Okay,
on it up to like, I think it's better than the worst or than our partners.
Wait, but
But,
didn't
you
you
know.
just say Chainer is?
No, I could also agree to it Chainer being slightly better than Vral's. Like I'm not
So
I'm not gonna
confused.
fight that too hard. I don't think. Okay.
I think Calimax beats out this deck. Anyway.
Next up we've got a
Oh,
Vile. Is this Cheese Rush?
This is honorary S tier.
Is this the
This
ITN
is
Cheese
the
Rush
Into
deck?
North deck, yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with honorary S tier, but bottom of S tier because I didn't work on this list. Okay.
Yeah.
So next up we've got Rafine by Morgan.
Yeah. So
This is a newer one too. Is this the newest
Yeah.
commander on our list?
by I
it
think a
is.
pretty solid
Yeah.
margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are,
What's like? Is
Orvar was Kaldheim, which was winter last year.
which came first, Kaldheim or?
No,
No, it'd be
Strixhaven,
Strixhaven,
Cody.
yeah, with Cody. Anyways, yeah. So it turns out that if you loot enough, it's actually pretty comparable to drawing cards with
Drawing
Tymna.
cards.
And beating people to death in Esper, never not funny. And there's just a lot of really excellent spice that you get to play to do incredibly cheesy things with +1/+1 counters.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think this ranking is going to be carried a lot by the fact that you haven't, like, not enough time has passed that you've, like, gotten to the point where you're cutting the spicy stuff yet, and you're, like, still playing, like, Walking Ballista and Fester Creep.
Yeah,
To me, this is...
I had the entire table
Sage
cursing
Vows.
under the oppressive influence of a Fester creep.
So to me, Rafine ranks probably just around but above Riel, where it's doing a similar kind of, your commander is a value engine, or is providing you value through some means. In Rafine, it's looting. In Riel, it's the card advantage with the discard stuff. But, you know, they're running similar. It's like the construct in Rafine is reminiscent of the Harmonic Prodigy in Riel, right? Things that are kind of unique, but, you know, I think Rafine's aspect is a bit more unique, and the spice is a bit spicier, which puts it above Riel for me, but I think they're very, very similar.
Honestly, I'm surprised, given your love of mono white in Vintage Cube, that you didn't say anything about the Adeline.
Adeline's also sick, man. A lot of the things in Rafine are for sure sick. You know, maybe I'd put it at top of B.
I was actually about to say, I think it's, like, exactly at the top of B. I don't think it quite has the amount of, like, inherent spice required to make it into A tier, but I think it's definitely, like, it's got a bunch of stuff going for it.
Yeah, it's the spiciest of, like, the goodish decks, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
How
honestly,
dare you? How dare you?
I mean,
I
how
don't know,
dare you?
I don't
But
know if
also,
power level is going up on this chart.
No, the thing is, there's a definite power level cutoff at B tier to A tier. Your deck must be at least this bad to enter A. Okay, so next up is Yisan by myself. So this kind of harkens back to both. I played Yisan, like, way back in the day, and then I've kind of taken it up again recently, where so back in the day it was kind of like more or less doing the standard stuff of Yisan then, but I think what actually Yisan, what kind of brought me back to look at Yisan again, is the new kind of innovative stuff people are doing with it. I think or specifically with, like, the Bard Rock Cafe list, which has been kind of adopted into, like, the more mainstream Shaper list. But it's stuff with, like, lands. Lots of land untappers because of, like, synergies with Ashaya. And what really took me... So, I mean, there's a bunch of new changes to the Yisan deck overall, but what kind of also brought me back to it was working on a line that involves winning without casting any spells, and through, like, a silence and rule of law, all of this, so no counter magic, pretty early, faster than normal. And this line involves Protean Hulk and sacking Protean Hulk to Sylvan Safekeeper because it's a land because of Ashaya. So that's my pitch
sick.
for some of the spice.
I think one thing that I think this deck is at least B, but to continue, I think the one thing that holds it back is, like, Yisan has forever been just, like,
A staple.
had a stock, like a staple list.
Yeah.
But I think if you consider that, like, up until late though, because I think it's very much fallen off the radar. So I think it's really cool that your version, this updated version, exists, and it's also better. Like, I think that the novelty has been kind of recently, like, taken back.
I feel like I can't place this too high because so much of its strength comes from
Just Yisan.
No.
Which
I was
hasn't
actually gonna say, the, like, opening the ability to get down stack pieces quickly, which is not something you can actually do consistently. Like, obviously, Collector Roof is, like, the one exception to that, but, like, the hands where you're just opening, like, fast mana Thorn, fast mana, like, Root Maze,
Right.
3-ball, that stuff, I feel like form too high a proportion of the deck's strengths for me to, like, really like it when it's so dependent on, like, that opening.
What does the strengths of the deck necessarily have to do with sickness?
What? No, but I'm saying, like, as a deck, you're often looking to mulligan to, like, the least cool part of the play pattern, is what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
like if it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna play Yisan turn 2 every game, and then we're gonna like find, you know, weird like silver bullets and tech pieces up to 3, and then
So,
you know,
I'll
we
also
combo
make-
at higher levels. I think that would actually be cooler than like, I don't know, just like I'm looking to play like turn 1, I don't know, land dork.
I'll make
ESG
one
root
last
maze on the play or whatever the hell.
case for it in terms of some of the spicier tech. So one, some of the spicier tech is now more established for Yes Online. It's like the slippery bog bonder used to kind of like decrement Yison's verse counters. But this is the list that I've posted is a list I was playing for a tournament where I still like heavily testing a bunch of like spice. So in here we've got Mazavith for Mazavith like double land on tapper combos. And we also have Awakening, which is Seedborn Muse for everyone.
I will say, Awakening is pretty hot. I
Yeah,
have
that is cool.
put that in a couple of Thrasios decks to no great effect. So I think
The bar
to
for
play-
Awakening here was that
Yeah.
I think Yes on activations every turn beat Thrasios activations.
yes.
So
and
that
I'm
was
probably
that
okay
was the
with
bar, yeah.
I think I might give you an extra tier if you were also on quest for whatever it is.
Oh, unfortunately that card
The
I've used to play it in the
quest,
ultra
for
budget.
renewal?
Unfortunately, it's not
Quest for
good.
renewal, yeah.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
close. It's so close.
It's so close, yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
what's
put
the
that in,
verdict?
I say B.
Yeah, I think I'm
yeah, I
feeling
think it's
B.
B. I think it's
I think
Gitrog
there's a
beats it
lot
out.
of historical bias that makes like so because I was very similar. Yisan is like very boring. I think a lot of the new Yisan stuff is kind of making it interesting and making it somewhat interesting again.
I think it might be cooler than Calimax by like a hair.
So I was thinking, yeah. But not cooler than Gitrog.
I wouldn't
No.
put it higher than Gitrog either.
All right.
Cool.
And
2
I
decks
remember
left.
two.
Two left, dude.
I do sort of appreciate, by the way, that we've just sort of conspired to lump a bunch of Lyndon's decks together in B tier.
Oh my god.
Next up, we've got Yorian by Reid.
Yep. Last but certainly not least for my
Certainly
list of decks. Oh my god, is Yorian hot. There's so much to say about this deck, dude. The fact that like you actually have like very reasonable stasis locks and commander. The fact that you get to play like all these just like incredibly strange and weird creatures that like you really shouldn't be seeing in a lot of decks. It's just like, yeah, we'll just play both Sakashimas and Spark Double and a bunch of this other stuff. We'll unironically play Charming Prince.
Yeah,
Why not?
Charming
Great.
Prince.
You ever
It's
get
just-
mad at someone for brewing a deck because you wanted to brew it? Like that's
Yeah,
Yorian for me, dude. It's
Absolutely.
like, damn it, this deck is so sick. Yeah, man, it's shit. Like, yeah, no, there's not much to be said, man. Yorian is awesome.
Well, okay. I think there's like
I know
The-
exactly what you're about to say.
the deck is awesome. The play patterns,
Dude, the play patterns are awesome. If
they
you can
are
pilot.
not.
The
they
play cards are
not.
fantastic when
They're
you're playing Yorian.
so
It's
the,
toxic.
the
hot.
single strongest like at kind of maximum hum value engine, like non-combo value engine in all cEDH, I think.
Depending on how you define maximum hum, like I think there's stuff you could, you know, like if you're playing Muldrotha and you're like PD'ing every turn and like you're ticking down your Ashiok and like things like that.
I still think
No, this
Yorian,
beats that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
the just sheer amount of mana and resources it provides,
You're playing your whole
like
deck.
every turn, is
I
unreal.
don't know, man. He set up the Solitude lock and still lost to Hullen 0 out of 10.
It wasn't necessarily at full hum though. It was just
Okay, you got to
Like
swords
Solitude.
8 of my creatures over 2 turns and you still lost.
Wow,
But isn't that sick? Isn't that just the
Yeah.
epitome of sick?
that's insane. That's an insane
That's,
value engine. Yeah,
Unfortunately,
not
you do
much
also
can
lose
compete with
points
that.
based on your Whim of Volrath logic. You do lose points for being the second Omen of the Sea deck on this
yeah,
list.
it's true. Even though I played it first.
Yeah,
Tragic.
I think I could put this at the top of A. but
I would
I'm
put it
very
as
reluctant.
S.
Given how toxic the play patterns are,
It unironically plays Scroll of
given
Fate.
how
It's so
toxic
odd.
the play patterns are, I've really struggled to put it in S.
I think bottom of S.
All right, I guess I'm outvoted.
I mean, if we're talking about toxic play patterns, then this is clearly less toxic
Hateball
than
is
S-
mega
than
toxic,
Hateball,
man. What are you
yeah.
talking about?
I actually don't think it is. Sorry,
you're literally doing the thing that casuals or that we say casuals shouldn't do, which is don't stacks out the game without a plan, dude. Your plan is your commander, but it's like you just dump out all your stacks. And you're like, well, I hope my commander resolves. If it doesn't, this game is boned. Like it's just completely screws over the pod. But yeah, no, I mean,
I think this is awesome.
I've spent
I also
so
think the fact
many
that it has-
games losing to Yorian for like an hour that it really hurts me to put it in S tier.
I think the fact that this has a very like yeah, it gets hated out by Nullrod, but the fact that it like I don't know, like the value plan like doesn't necessarily get hated out by Nullrod. Like the fact that it has kind of a unique angle that a lot of other decks don't have. It can get through a lot of hate. Surprising amount of hate.
Torpor Orb.
And but who's playing Torpor Orb, right?
I mean,
Like,
people
all
in our
of our
meta started
meta,
playing
all of
Torpor
our
Orb
meta.
to
Yeah,
combat
okay.
this deck. Yeah.
Yorian, you're not gonna like, oh, Reid's playing Yorian in this tournament. I better put a Torpor Orb in my deck, right?
But Reid, how do you feel about Mystic Reflection?
Mr. Reflection. Anyway, I think that alone sets it apart from all these other decks.
Yeah. Okay. Last and maybe least is hopefully not is Shimmers. Okay, and so this is mine, and this is a list I played last probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was a long time.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah. No, actually, the last time I was like stopped playing this was like I think GP Vegas when we went to. So yeah, it was a long time. So I mean, the list on Architect says like 2021 December, but I think that was just me maybe taking something in the sideboard or renaming it or something. I don't know. But the last time I seriously did stuff with that, yeah. So, but the thing with when I was playing Shimmers at the time, I think most of the Shimmers decks were doing Fishbowl. Right, they were doing Fishball and more Hercules, like recall, kind of restorm with the artifacts sort of thing. And the one change that I kind of want to make was to do just kind of like make it more compact. So I was doing Thoracle wins at instant speed with Scout's Warning. I think eventually that caught on with some other people as well. And I think that was around the time that everyone was working on that together. But then the other stuff that maybe makes it a bit spicy, in my Shimmer package, I was running Ancient Excavation. Anything else? Oh yeah, I guess I had some stuff with like Phyrexian Unlife as a potential tutorable A plus B combo with Ad Nauseam. Yeah. And there was maybe some like niche
And there's a
counterspell choice. Yeah, this was I think was this no, I guess Veto was just printed. I was running like everything, man. This was like very heavy control. Like trying to fit in more counter spells and stuff.
I think the oldest card in this list is the newest card in this list is Drown in the Lock. That was printed 2019, late 2019.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, first of all, you're losing points because of how cursed the sorting categories are. I don't know what's happening
Yeah,
here.
sorry, you can
custom sorting.
change the sort.
No, but it's custom sorting, but it's wrong. Like,
also, the deck size has only 94 cards in it, so this was a list.
Okay, maybe you guys aren't
Disqualified.
seeing what I'm seeing, but I'll screenshot and show it to you. It's like completely borked.
Client side, problem side.
Anyways,
I think Zur kind of fits into the whole like you can't put a commander above C tier type thing. Or sorry,
Yeah,
a
it's
partner
just-
combination.
I think this is going in D. Like,
It's just it's so hard to.
Okay, let's also so I know this is why Zur. This is why we constantly talk about like Zur is way better than people give it credit for, but no one wants to play it because Zur is boring and somehow it's the least played overplayed commander. Do you ever get that feeling where it's like it's somehow you see a Zur, you're like, oh my god, another Zur deck, even though you haven't seen one in like 3 years.
that
I
being
feel like
said,
Zur falls
like-
into that. But like the Shimmer Zur idea is like pretty freaking cool, honestly,
it's
for
just
when it
like-
was originally
it's
came
half
out.
a decade old is the issue.
Yeah, when you start.
I mean,
off
so
by
is
saying,
Momir Vig Hackball, Reid.
No, it's not. It's 4 years old.
No,
Okay.
Momir Vig
Okay,
Hackball
wait,
is.
we're splitting the hairs on 5 versus 4.
Yeah, okay, no.
You started off by saying I haven't played this deck in years. I don't think that helps because I would almost I'd almost think like it would be more hot to play it now.
Yeah,
than it would be to be
honestly, that is true. If you had an up-to-date
yeah.
Shimmers list, I'd be like, okay, at least you're like
committed to
Like
the,
you stuck
yeah.
with it. That's crazy.
Oh god, then I have to go build Shimmer Zur again.
And you literally just admitted to why we're putting this low.
Okay.
I had to try and defend it, man. I think the aspects
of
of
C.
Shimmer
Bottom
should
of
carry
C?
some weight.
It's
Bottom
like
of
bottom
C.
of C, top of D. I think it's top of D.
I think it's top of D.
I think it's just too.
Your primary plan is Nas and its consult. Like I don't know. There's
Nas
just-
Necropotence.
No, your
concept
primary plan
just-
is Necro Shimmer, which is cool.
okay.
But yeah.
I mean,
See, the thing
I mean,
is
I'm not
that
gonna fight. So top
Oscar,
of D is
Oscar just does
fine,
a better
yeah.
deck.
Lyndon, I will say that somehow your entire deck came together to be just barely hotter than Mangara. Is what this is
which
telling me.
you know what? I'll take it. Now we've placed every single commander, and let's actually do it this way. Let's each pick one thing that you can pick one list or one list on here where it's position you don't agree with. It doesn't have to be yours, just the one you most vehemently disagree with, and then you can make a case for why it should change, and then we can call it after we've done
Okay,
4.
I'll tank Morgan's pick. I think Chainer should be higher. Like,
Oh my god, dude!
much
Don't
higher.
sacrifice your own vote just to get Chainer up there.
no, I legitimately think Chainer is hotter than like most of the stuff in B.
Okay, Lyndon, I'll put Baral up if you put Thrasbruise up. Okay.
Yeah, deal. I actually think I was getting robbed with Baral, man. This is actually unreal.
I think you are too.
I sort of agree, but the clickbait potential here of having
Of
Brawl
just
in D
bullying
tier
me, dude.
is
I've been
just-
gone for
Okay,
2 weeks.
okay.
Comebacks on, immediately cyberbullied.
Here's actually. I
Brawl.
think we can relate these. I think it's like bizarre to. I think raising Baral for like playing odd counterspell choices and punishing Chainer for having like 3 generically good reanimation targets is like completely ass backwards.
No. I think it's kind of crazy to look at a Baral list and be like, you're like, it's mono blue counterspells, and to have such a vast different like diff between the kind of established decks versus what this looks like now. I mean, obviously there's been some cards that have been printed since then, but even the cards that existed at the time, the fact that there is such a wide diff, I think, kind of speaks to it. Whereas Chainer, I think, is kind of like a more it'd be almost
I
like
bet the diff
Baral's is an interesting piece of art that's done almost in like all colors of like white and off-white and eggshell or something, whereas
Yeah.
Chainer is like a more interesting piece of like abstract art, but it's still kind of like formulaic-ish.
derivative.
I'm like, I feel like you're vastly underestimating how big the diff between Chainer and other Rakdos decks is.
No, I mean, I don't think it's the diff between Chainer and other Rakdos decks. I just think that a lot of the cards in Chainer are obvious cards for Chainer.
But like,
Yeah, I 100% agree.
and the cards for
But they're hot.
okay, it's weird to say like, oh yeah, well I'm playing a bunch of counter spells that are a lot better when they're discounted by 1.
Well, they're
And that's
not
cool.
obvious because they weren't done before. Is the thing, right?
Well,
That's what
okay,
makes
so,
it not
wait,
obvious.
so you're saying like the fact that people built Baral decks without these cards makes them cool, and the fact that no one built Chainer makes it uncool? Like I don't get that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fuck.
All right.
Like
That's what
no
a
one
healthy
built it, but I mean, if
disagreement looks like.
anyone built it, I would expect it to look a lot like your list.
I wouldn't.
Is basically-
I really, really wouldn't.
No, there's a lot of stuff that's there's not a lot. There's some stuff that is obviously different and spicy, but I think a lot of the stuff that you're calling spicy, I don't think is necessarily like
Well,
that
I mean, also
completely original.
I think if you compare even to like red black reanimator, I still think there's a lot of really spicy stuff.
No, there certainly is. Like, I
think the amount of polish that went into Brawl like can't possibly land it in D tier. Like it truly is like a really, really solid 100 cards that it's going to be really hard to beat. But not because you're like tossing up staples, it's because you're actually tossing up like truly unique cards, at least in the face of like cEDH. But for Chainer, it's like I think that there are some staples that didn't make it in, and I would potentially be arguing over staples if I were to change some cards up, which is like not very interesting.
So, like, where do you want to see Chainer, Morgan?
I think it belongs at least in B.
Yeah, I'll
where
go
in
to
B
bat
would
for it.
where in B would you go?
Dude, if Chainer goes to B, then
I think it goes above
C.
Holland. I think it goes
like,
above
how could
Holland.
Baral possibly be lower than like our partners?
Dude, that's me.
Like,
I want Baral at least
Okay.
above the partners.
Okay, we'll put Chainer above Holland, and then Brawl either right behind
Chainer above
Brawl's.
Holland.
Yes.
I'm actually blown away
What?
that you guys put Holland above Chainer.
Holland runs way more cool cards,
oh,
man.
it's way cooler.
That are kind of like unexpected.
Yeah,
you know,
but the play patterns are so much less interesting. Chainer's so interesting.
The play patterns-
Honestly, Reid, I feel like what we're experiencing is the difference between people who primarily brew cEDH and people who primarily play cEDH.
this is actually true.
I think that's actually the direct split down the
Holy
middle of this
shit.
podcast.
Yeah. Dude, I much prefer the brewing and deck construction than the
it's not
play
even-
patterns. Yeah,
I didn't even necessarily mean like preference. I just mean like I spend a lot of my time
Yeah.
actively playing games, with and against these decks. And
compared
I
to just brewing them. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that like playing games with Chainer is like way cooler and more interesting than playing games with Holland.
Dude,
On both sides, I think. I
Playing
think it just,
playing games with or playing games with what then Holland? You said?
Yeah, like
Okay.
by like a wide margin. I actually think
Yeah, I'll say like playing games with Baral is not fun for the Baral player or who's playing against Baral. It's like playing with training weights and everything is stacked against you. So like I mean the play patterns of Baral aren't fun, but I definitely agree.
I think
like,
yeah.
I like the deck building aspects. So yeah, I think that's a good observation
dude,
for sure.
So
I don't even know if
are we moving
the play
both of
patterns
these
in Chainer
up?
are particularly fun.
Yeah, I think I'll accept a trade of
Would you
moving
accept
Chainer.
Chainer below Holland?
No. I will
I
accept
think that's
Chainer,
wrong, but
Chainer above Holland, and then you could have Brawl and C.
Then I want a Baral above Virals.
Uh,
Either Baral behind Virals and Chainer
I'll-
behind Holland, or they each go in front of the other.
I think Baral being in the middle of C is a pretty good.
I want it above the other
no,
other partners.
I think Brawls is like the gatekeeper of C.
Then I think Holland is going to be the gatekeeper of Chainer, man. I don't know what to say.
All right, Morgan, you have mouse control. Time for
God,
override
no.
time.
With great power
I
comes
guess-
great responsibility.
okay. We'll put.
I think you have to
right
side at least somewhat
on-
with the people who are the dissenters, right? Because then it's a not Homer take and it's kind of more balanced.
Wait, what? But also, it kind of seems.
Yeah.
Like,
So then whatever you guys think the ceiling of Baral is, is where you'll put it.
Wait, what? Sorry, I'm slightly confused by that.
So the people who were kind of trying to keep them back and not push it forward. So like I think the ceiling of Chainer is behind Holland, and that's the lowest it goes, right? Or unless Matt had it even lower.
This is such a wild.
I had it lower, but I don't think I need to speak up on that.
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
It's not going to make it through.
All right,
Then
all right.
and then wherever the lowest C position for Baral is for you guys.
I say it beats out Malcolm, but I mean.
Yeah,
Bruce-
I think I was
Grass
feeling
Bruce.
Okay,
Yeah, I think Nyx Plume Ancient is just hot.
it is pretty
and
hot.
like is way hotter than any individual thing that Brawl is doing, but yeah. All right, these terms are acceptable.
So then are we? Is that it? Because that was 2 decks, and we were all kind of cared a lot about those 2 particular
Yeah,
ones.
I think we'll
yeah.
lock in the list.
Well, okay,
as
I guess I
acceptable.
would say, Matt, I if you have something you want to propose a change on, certainly you were not as full-throated in your in your Baral support, as I think Reid and I both were on Chainer. So
no. I think this is good. I could nitpick. Like I'd probably put Gitrog over Riel maybe in hindsight. Like just like small things. I don't know. Not particularly.
okay, actually, there's one final question. Where in D tier does this actually belong?
I think
above Cody.
It is the least
no,
interesting of our.
I think Cody beats it because Cody once again dies to Curse Totem, Null Rod, Rule of Law. Like it actually wins tournaments.
And Cody does some unique mechanic and isn't just basically Canadian Highlander.
Like
Yep.
it actually breaks all deck building assumptions up until it's printing. Like
Yeah.
like
Okay.
you play the win
Yeah.
condition that makes it through your narrow piece of hate you've decided to avoid.
Certainly,
Never
the tagline for this deck of "What if we made a card quality pile but in red" is not like.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got to screen cap this as the real tier list, and then we've got to put all the like clickbaity ones at the top, like Baral and Cody at the top of
Yeah.
S tier. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that wraps it up, honestly, for this main topic. And I don't think we're gonna. We've been recording for a hot minute at this point, so I don't think we're gonna do a gut check or listener question this
No
week.
gut check.
But you can engage with the tier list that we just made.
Yeah. Woo!
Woo! So we'll be posting this on all of our social media stuff, I think, at least putting it in the Discord, and I don't know, we might open up a channel for a tier list discussion on these lists and how sick they are.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
only
So
only
also
supplying
regarding
lists.
regarding the deck lists, I know myself and Morgan are can be cagey about posting some lists that are, especially if they're old or outdated. I don't want my like name stamped on that sort of thing. So I mean, there's lists for some of this stuff, and if you want to find lists from myself, Morgan, Reid, Matt, you can find it on our Moxfield profiles, which we will link to, I guess, in the YouTube and podcast description.
Yeah, I've got some tapped out and some architect.
Yeah, I definitely
there.
don't have my decks unlisted by default.
If there are specific lists you are interested in, and please just ask us. I'm sure we'll be
just
happy.
ping us.
But once again, the outdated label is pretty strong on most of these.
Yeah, go follow me on Moxfield, like all my decks, comment on everything,
Yeah.
get that get
Follow.
those views up. Yeah, the clout, gotta farm it. And I guess speaking of farming clout, you guys should also go and comment on, give us maybe a rating, a review on iTunes and
Oh my god,
and other podcast services.
Stop.
I know this is something that other podcasts do all the time, and we've avoided doing it. But I think it's something that's actually very helpful, and that
You know what, Morgan?
would be appreciated.
We're doing another tier list episode. We're going all in on marketability here.
But yeah, so give us a rate and review on whatever podcasting platform you use. Greatly appreciated for the algorithm and all that crap.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Google employee makes a cEDH tier list.
That wraps it up for this episode. If you guys would like to reach out to us with any questions, comments, or concerns, you can contact us on Twitter on at Into the North Pod, via our email intothenorthpodcast@gmail.com, or on our Discord server, the invite link for which can be found in the description for this episode. An extra special thanks to all of our patrons who help cover the expenses for our show and allow us to work towards improving the quality of the podcast. If you too would like to become a patron, we are at patreon.com/intothenorthpodcast. Another way you can support us is via our TCG Player affiliate link. So anytime you want to purchase something from TCG Player, if you use our affiliate link, which is in the podcast/YouTube description, a portion of your purchase goes towards supporting the podcast. Thank you as always to the band Vox Cadre for our lovely podcast music, to Nate Slover for our equally lovely podcast logo, and to our video editor, Manta Ray Hat. Next episode will be out in 2 weeks. Until then, see ya.